StrayAllDay.com.
Now tuned into the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there, even when the success you've expected to achieve has yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative, which is the go-getter energy that moves any one of us, including yourself, to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. And then we put all this together into a series of frameworks, approaches, insights, strategies, and techniques, all underneath the umbrella of one unified philosophy that is called work on your game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today's topic is achieving goal congruence. Now, before we get into this, I'll remind everybody that I send out a daily motivation text message. That is a message that's guaranteed to have you focused, sharp, and on point to start your day. You want to receive this message, so let me tell you what you do. All you do is text me at my number, which is 305-384-6894. And every morning when that daily motivation comes out, because you're a member of my texting community, you'll be receiving that message straight to your phone that is guaranteed, as I just said, to have you focused, sharp, and on point to start your day. Secondly, Work on Your Game University. People ask me, Dre, do you offer any kind of coaching? Do you have courses? Do you have any like higher level training? What's the next step I can take? No, I'm listening to your podcast. So what's the next step I can take after that? Answer is Work on Your Game University. That's where everything happens. All the magic happens inside the university. That is the only place I coach anybody. That's the only place you get access to my courses like Bulletproof Mindset, 30 Days of Discipline, the Work on Your Game system, the Next Mission Framework, the Business Builder Framework, ASAP Confidence, Content Machine, Sell Yourself, and a whole lot more. We got 40 plus courses in there. Any training that I add or create in the future will only be available to members of Work on Your Game University. So the way you can get into the university is by going to workonyourgameuniversity.com. That link is down below in the description, right next to the number where you can get my daily motivation text. You can take a look at that while you are listening to me right now. Good thing about a masterclass that is audio based, that you can do other things with your eyes while you're listening with your ears. Now, all that said, let's get into this topic here, which is achieving goal congruence. What exactly does this mean? The definition of congruence is agreement or harmony, also compatibility. So what we're talking about specifically here is about the congruence between your goals and the actions, mindsets, and habits that are allegedly supporting those goals. Yes, keyword is allegedly, because many of you, and over here Work on Your Game, we get honest, we get straight to the point, and I'm gonna give it right to you the way that you need to hear it, not the way you want to hear it, the way you need to hear it. Many of you have goals that you are allegedly going after. However, looking at your goals and then looking at your mindsets, your habits, and your actions, there may be some incongruence between them. All right, there's an inharmonious relationship between your goals and the actions that allegedly are supporting those goals. You get what I'm saying? And sometimes your actions and mindsets are hindering your ability to reach your goals. They're actually fighting against each other. So let's talk about it here today, so we can get clear on where there may be a disconnect and what changes need to happen, if any. Point number one. Today's topic, once again, is achieving goal congruence. First of all, we got to figure out, how do you need to think? If you want to get your mind, if you want to get everything in you aligned with your goals, the first thing is getting your mind aligned with the goal. Given the goals that you have in place, here's the question: what kind of mindset do you need to have? How do you need to be thinking in order to reach your goals? Given what the goal is and given who and where you are right now, how do you need to think? Who do you need to see when you look in the mirror for you to reach your goal? Now, we know who you see now, but for you to reach your goal, does what you see in the mirror need to change from what it is right now? And let me give you a hint. The answer is yes, it does need to change. Because if you were already that person, then the actions would already be there and you would already have the goal. You have a different goal. Something needs to change. Change is a part of the process of achieving success, folks. Change is a part of the process of getting better and moving up. If you want to advance in life, there are changes that you need to make. Change doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing. Change can be a great thing. You're changing from level 2 to level 3. Level 3 to level 7. All right, this is the kind of change that you want. This is good change. How do you need to make your decisions? How does your process need to change from what you're currently doing? What framework or processes do you need to use to address challenges or to answer questions that come up concerning your goals? So looking at where you're trying to go, there are going to be some challenges that come up. There are going to be some questions that come up. What frameworks or processes will you use to address those challenges? They may be different than the frameworks and processes that you're using right now. Understand that if your answer to every question I've asked so far is I'm just going to stick to what I already am doing, then you should look at the outcomes that you already have and agree that you're okay staying exactly there, because that's exactly what you're going to have 5 years from now. If you want to be in a different place in a year or 3 years or 5 or 10 years, then some of these you need answers that are different than what you're currently doing. There need to be changes. What kind of mindset do you need to change to? What kind of thinking do you need to change to? What needs to change about who you see in the mirror? What needs to change about your decision-making process? What about the frameworks and processes you use to address challenges, or if you even have any, how do they need to change? And understand that your answers to these questions all need to be uniform, thought out, planned, and executed in a consistent manner by you and everyone around you regarding that goal. Let me say that last sentence again. All these answers need to be uniform, meaning they connect with each other like pieces of a puzzle. They should be well thought out. They need to be planned and executed in a consistent manner, both by you and with everyone involved with you in reaching that goal. So what do I mean by everyone involved with you? So a couple episodes back where I talked about how to stop competing and start dominating, I mentioned Michael Phelps. How he had that plan to break all the records that he broke in the 2008 Olympiad in swimming. Michael Phelps had a team of people around him. It wasn't just him going to the pool by himself and working out, and that's how he got to be that good. He's pretty good. But he had people around him, helping train him, helping him with his nutrition, helping him with his process, his planning, all that stuff to get ready for that Olympics. So he had his coaches, he had his nutritionists, probably had many other people who I don't even know who they are, all on his side to make sure that everyone was on the same page to help reach the one goal. So let me ask, do you believe, just off of your own personal intellect, all right, don't Google anything, just off of what you know, do you believe that Michael Phelps and all the people on his team were on the same page as far as what needed to happen, how it happened, when it happened, and where it happened? If you're not sure of the answer, let me help you out. The answer is, of course, they were all on the same page. They were absolutely all on the same page because that's the only way he was going to hit that goal. He didn't do it all by himself. He's the one who had to get in the pool and swim. But he didn't do it all by himself. He had trainers around him. He had nutritionists around him. He had helpers around him. He had media people around him. He had a whole lot of people around him whose job was to make sure that everything that happened in Team Phelps was designed to make sure he hit that goal of winning all those medals. Because if and when he did, which he did, everybody got to win. All right, the trainer got to win, the coaches got to win, the publicist got to win, the agent got to win, the media people got to win, the PR people everybody got to win because he won and they were on his team. All right, so everybody need to be on the same page. Okay, all success, folks, happens on purpose. All success happens on purpose. I have a whole episode where I talked about that. Let me see if I can find that episode here. Typed in the wrong place. Okay, but any success that you create in life, there has to be a purpose behind it, and everyone involved with you needs to be on top of the same purpose. Everybody has to be congruent, in agreement, and in perfect harmony with this is the goal, and here's what everybody's job is in the process of reaching that goal. Talked about this in episode 864. Success happens only on purpose. Challenge that many of you have right now is that you are not clear on the purpose and the people around you are not clear on the purpose. There's incongruence there, and this is why you're getting friction instead of a smooth process. You got to be on purpose when it comes to the congruence between your thought processes and the reaching of your stated goals and the thought processes of anybody around you who's involved in those goals. Point number 2, today's topic, once again, is how to achieve goal congruence. The second thing you got to ask yourself is, who must I become? Or if I'm talking to you in the second person, who you must become. For you to reach your goals, you must become a certain type of individual who is different than the person who you are right now. Because if you were already that person, again, you would already have these outcomes. You would already be right there. How do you need to change in terms of who you are as a person in order to reach the goals that you have? For you to reach a certain goal, you got to become a certain type of individual. That means change is in order. And this is the hardest change because it's the change of who you are on a fundamental level. This is a much harder change than changing what you do. Changing who you are is much harder. It's easier to change your actions than it is to change your being. However, if you do not change your being, you don't change who you are as a person, your actions, no matter how they change, will not produce your desired outcomes. Everybody heard what I said there? You could change your actions all day, every day, but if you do not change who you are fundamentally, those changes in actions will not produce the desired change in outcomes because you haven't changed who you are as a person. All right, you haven't changed the fundamental piece of this that actually needs to change, which is who you are as an individual. That's the biggest change that has to happen at all times in life. Okay. So, who must you become as a person? This is a question you got to ask yourself. Who do I need to be? Who do you need to be that's different than who you are right now? Inside of my Bulletproof Mindset 2.0 course, inside of Work on Your Game University, we spend a considerable amount of time on just answering this and how to answer this and how to address this, because, and this part right here, that Bulletproof Mindset part, is the most valuable thing that you can develop of everything you want to get in Work on Your Game University. Even if your goal is you want to make more money, you're trying to build a business, or you want to get better at leading your team, or you want to get better at creating relationships and networking, the mindset is the most important thing that you need to do any of those things that I just mentioned. So if you have trouble answering this question of how you need to change, get help from someone who can help you answer this, because they can see things from the outside of you that are difficult for you to see from the inside of you. Just know that as a general rule, who you must become is different than who you are right now. So staying the same is not an option if you are serious about reaching your goal. So whatever your goal or goals are, if you're serious about them, you understand that staying the same is not even a choice. It's not a matter of if you're going to change, it's a matter of how you're going to change. If you're serious about your goal. I can't speak for that. Point number 3. Today's topic, once again, is how to achieve goal congruence. Number 3. Now you got to ask yourself, what do I do? What are the actions that I have to take? And around these actions includes the subheader of what sacrifices you must make and what sacrifices must you get others to make. In order for you to hit your goal, everyone around you got to be on the same page as you. If there's some incongruence between you and the people around you, you're probably going to have trouble hitting that goal. So this is the part that most people spend most of their time on, is what must I do? Yet most people still get it wrong. Isn't that interesting? That how many of you know somebody who's always working, always striving, always going hard, always putting more time in, always punching the clock, right? They're always putting that time in and putting that effort in, but despite the fact they're working so hard, they're still not getting that much closer to their desired outcome. Why is this happening? Why does that happen? You know what that happens to people? Is because they go straight into the doing part without asking themselves about the other two parts. They never ask the right questions in the right order. So they have an inaccurate formula. Secondly, here's another piece of it. These folks are often acting out of ignorance, and they don't even know what steps they need to take, and therefore they're operating by inaccurate formula. So either you're operating by a direct inaccurate formula of just going straight to the working instead of figuring out who you need to be. So you just didn't take the time to kind of meditate and think about who you need to be as a person. Or the second option is you are just completely acting out of ignorance, and you don't even know that you don't know what's going on. So if you want to achieve an outcome, that's something you should probably source from someone who has already achieved that outcome, who can tell you exactly what needs to take place, and it doesn't leave you guessing and hoping that things work out. Go find someone who has already achieved that outcome that you're looking to get, and plug into their thing, plug into what they're sharing, plug into what they said in their webinar, plug into whatever they're posting about. Get on their page so you can find out what they're doing that maybe you're not doing. What are they thinking? How do they approach things is different than the way that you approach things. And you can ask them direct questions. They'll probably give you direct answers. So what you need to do to achieve this outcome, find someone who's already done it. Don't leave yourself guessing and hoping that it works out. All right, that's a bad strategy. So what you need to do, this question also includes the sacrifices that you must make. So you're talking about what you're going to do. What sacrifices must you make in the process? What are the things that you're going to need to eliminate in the process of doing these new things? So part of your process of what you're going to do is you're going to wake up at 5 in the morning and go work out at the gym. Well, here's one thing you can't do. If you're going to wake up at 5 in the morning, you probably can't sleep in unless you're used to waking up at 4 in the morning. So waking up at 5 is sleeping in is a luxury for you. For those of you used to waking up at 5:30 or 6 or 7 or anytime after 5, if you're going to wake up at 5 to go do your workout, you do no longer have the luxury of sleeping in. You must stop staying up late watching Netflix if you want to wake up at 5 in the morning because you won't have any energy. You got to stop getting drunk at night and then waking up with a hangover, because that will affect your ability to actually do the exercises in the morning if your goal is to wake up and go to the gym. So there are certain things that you're going to start doing and certain things you got to stop doing. So when we get into this, what do I need to do thing, you also got to think about, what am I going to stop doing? What are the actions that are going to be eliminated? Keeping in mind that moving up and elevating in life is often a matter of, just as much a matter of what you eliminate as it is what you add. Okay. Point number 4, we got one more. Today's topic, once again, is how to achieve goal congruence. Number 4, what you cannot do temporarily or permanently. This is the next thing you got to ask yourself. So the sacrifices are part of what you're going to do. What are the things you're going to completely eliminate and drop? And then this point number 4 here is, what are the things that you can't do? Either temporarily you can't do them, or you permanently are going to decide that this is completely out. And often when we give ourselves the opportunity to temporarily stop doing something, it often can end up being permanent. Just because we got a taste of it and we're like, oh, you know what, I actually like this. I want this to be temporary. Let's just keep this how it is. So this could be somebody who says, all right, for Lent, I'm going to not smoke cigarettes for 30 days. And then they feel so good if not smoking the cigarettes, they never go back to smoking cigarettes. So a temporary thing could become a permanent thing. But this could be a person who, I know several people, being that I at one time was a transient, as a person who's just moving around a good amount. I know several people down here in South Florida who came here on just a hunch and a fury, a hunch and a theory, not hunch and a fury, hunch and a theory, where they just said, you know, I'm gonna go to Miami. I'm gonna pack up my car, drive to Miami. I'll find a place to stay, and I'm just gonna work it out. I'm gonna grind and make it happen right here. So it started as a permanent idea. I also know people who came here to visit, or I'll meet people in all different kinds of places. I ask them where they live, and it's different from where they are from. And I'll say, well, how'd you end up in this place? They say, well, I came here on vacation. I never went home. All right. Any of you ever had that happen, or ever been that person, or ever seen it before? We've all heard the stories. All right. So sometimes the temporary can become a permanent, but the point is, this is an extension of those sacrifices. What must you delete in the process of making change? What must you delete in the process of making change? So in order for you to reach your goals, there are not only new things you must add to your process, there are also things that must be removed from your process and also banned from returning. So what are they for you? Now, some of them are temporary, some are permanent. This is another one that's easier answered when you're getting the answers from someone outside of yourself, because you may either be reluctant to admit to certain things or completely blind to certain things that other people can see very easily. Oftentimes it's easier for us to see something in someone else than it is for us to see it in ourselves. So if you're going to become a great athlete, for example, you may no longer be able to sit out on a workout that you don't feel like doing, because you got to work out whether you feel like it or not. You will no longer be able to half-ass through a drill if your energy is not right, if your goal is to be amazing at your sport, whether you're playing solo or you're on a team. Because if you're on a team, then the teammates are watching you and they see you half-assing through a drill. Well, they're not going to believe you when you say you want to be the best. You probably shouldn't believe you. You say you want to be the best and you're half-assing through a drill. It doesn't even make sense. If you're going to be a great family person, for example, you may not be able to stay 3 hours late at work every night whenever you feel swamped with tasks that are undone. Actually, I'm in the middle of reading a book right now. It's a book that I'm rereading that's about mastery of your time management. And one of the guest authors in the book talks about how there were nights where he would stay 3-4 hours late and he would only come home because his wife would call him and demand that he came home, because he would always be at the office doing extra work. And if he decided that he wanted to be a much better family person, so he got better at managing his time, so he didn't have to stay late at work, he could be home and actually sit at the dinner table with his family every night as he always wanted to. So sometimes you just got to eliminate things temporarily and sometimes permanently. You're going to be great at your job. You may not be able to always be home in time to have dinner with the family. For example, there's many famous stories about Amazon. I don't know how they're doing it now because Jeff Bezos stepped down as CEO. But when Bezos was in his heyday as CEO, he made it very clear. He said, this is not a place for work-life balance. If you're looking to have work-life balance, this is not the place for you. If you're looking to go to every one of your kids' soccer games, this ain't the place for you. If you want to be at the dinner table having dinner with your family every single night, Amazon is not the place for you. Here is a very demanding lifestyle, and we're going to demand a whole lot from you. And you're not always going to have a lot of balance between what you get to do at home, what you do at work. Most of the balance is going to be leaning towards us. Now, he didn't say that all of that in so many words. I'm just adding on to it. But the whole point is you got to decide what you want and what's the trade-off that you're willing to make in order to get it. You want to maximize your career, and you're going to trade some family. You're going to maximize your family, you're going to trade some career. This is the way that it works, people. Only way you could probably do both at the same time is to make yourself the boss, and then you can set your own times. You can set your own parameters. So if you're not the boss, then you probably won't be able to do both. You got to pick one. One of them is going to weigh a little bit more than the other, at least. So it just depends on what the goal is and what sacrifices you're willing to make in order to reach it. This applies to anything in life. What is the goal, and what sacrifices am I willing to make in order to reach it? That's the key word, willing. Let's recap class today, which is achieving goal congruence. Congruence is defined as agreement or harmony, also compatibility. Number one, how must you think? Given the goals you have in place, what kind of mindset do you need to have, and how do you need to be thinking? Who do you need to see when you look in the mirror? How are you going to be making your decisions? You need to ask and answer all of these questions. Think of someone like Michael Phelps. He had a whole team around him for at least 4 years who wanted to help him hit that goal, and everyone had to be on the same page as to what was happening, when, why, and by whom. Number two, who you must become. For you to reach your goals, you got to become a certain type of individual, and it's probably a person who is different than who you are right now. That means change is in order. It's the hardest change because it's a change of who you are fundamentally as a person. But this change is very important because without it, nothing you do is going to have the desired effect. And number three, what you must do, including sacrifices you have to make and that you have to get other people to make, because others may have to sacrifice on your behalf. If you're running a company, you got a big staff, and there's a big order that you're trying to land or a big client you're trying to get, you might need everybody to work extra hours. So they got to sacrifice as well as you sacrificing. So despite most people spending most of their time on what they must do, a lot of people still get it wrong because they never ask themselves the previous question, which is who I need to be as a person. So make sure you answer that one before you get to this one. Number four, what you cannot do either temporarily or permanently. This is an extension of those sacrifices. So what has to be deleted in the process of you actually making change? There are not only new things that you must add to your process, but there are also things that must be removed from your process and not allowed to come back. So what are those things for you? You want to be a great athlete, you can't sit out a workout when you don't feel like doing a workout. You can't half-ass do a drill anymore because everybody's watching you. You want to be a great family person, you can't stay 3 hours late at work. And if you want to be a great work person, you probably can't leave 3 hours early for family. Like, this is just what it is. So these are the trade-offs, folks. You just got to decide which ones you're willing to make. All that said, text me. Let me know the best insight you got from today's class. Also, let me know you want to get that daily motivation I send out every day for free. My number is 305-384-6894. Every morning when that text goes out, you'll be getting it. Work on Your Game University. That's where all my coaching happens. All my courses are there. You want to get access to that, go to workonyourgameuniversity.com, and you'll see your options for getting started. Work on your game. Dre, all